In this final segment of stage 1, you're going to see, once again, you're going to see Frank Carlo, his mother, and also a special appearance by his father. And this is in a play activity called Monster in the Mountain. Now, many people assume that RDI is a play type of therapy. Nothing could be farther from the truth. In fact, you could do all of this work on dynamic intelligence without playing at all. But children do like to play. It is a natural part of what they do. So we certainly want to include play when we practice with children. As we show this tape, I'm going to stop it and highlight for you the critical moment of anticipation. And you may be surprised. The moment is not going to be when the monster pops out, who right now is hiding behind the beanbags. The moment is going to be right before that happens. And you're going to see the excitement on Frank Carlo and his mother's faces as they anticipate what might happen. Another thing that's critical about this clip is I want you to see how we've allowed Frank Carlo to feel competent without giving him undue control. And the way we've done it is this. The monster, who is father in this case, is hiding behind a pile of beanbags. But he is not allowed to come out whenever he feels like it. He must be summoned out by the mother and child, who must recite the following: "Monster in the mountain, come on out." And that gives him permission to come out. Now, what is the uncertainty here? Well, the uncertainty, as you'll see, is that the monster doesn't have to come out just because he's summoned. You'll see one time the monster will throw an apple out. It'll appear from the beanbag chairs. Another time the monster will just growl. And only on the third time will the monster actually appear. So the competent area is that he cannot appear until he's summoned. The level of uncertainty is created by giving him a choice of how to respond to that summons. That's a beautiful example of how we very carefully measure out the degree of productive uncertainty and how we substitute competence for control.
Monster in the mountain, come on.
I'm pausing at this part of the video because I want you to see what we mean by the excitement of anticipation. What I want you to see is notice the way that mother and child are looking at each other now, right? They're about to call the monster out. They don't quite know what the monster is going to do yet, right? So there's that moment of uncertainty. And the expression on their faces is a perfect illustration of that excitement. So you can see it's the moment before there's a revelation or before there's a climax that is the critical moment in stage 1. Stage 1 sets the stage for the development of referencing. Referencing has to be automatic. It has to be something that the child does by looking out at the world on an ongoing basis. You cannot wait to reference until someone tells you it's time to do so. So I could teach you the skill of looking at someone's face, but the critical ability is to know that you have to keep looking and keep watching for changes in the information. For the fact that your facial expressions were one way and now they're different, which has meaning about something we're both referring to. Right? So facial gazing has to become an automatic, ongoing process. Not every second, not every minute. Remember, when we move to referencing, we want the person to be gazing when they're uncertain. If the world is completely predictable for them, and they already know what's going to happen and how it's going to turn out, there's really no reason to reference. On the other hand, if they're terrified or completely confused, referencing won't help them at all. Referencing occurs in this middle ground, this state of what we call productive uncertainty. One of the critical pieces is to teach people on the autism spectrum to even recognize a state of uncertainty. And often they have spent their lives avoiding any uncertainty, so that when we introduce it, their first reaction is to get away from it or control it as quickly as possible. So I want to emphasize that the critical piece is creating those moments. The much simpler piece is to teach someone how to read an expression during that moment. Even though that's important, that's not as important as knowing that you can perceive uncertainty without having to run from it. There's something you can do to make yourself feel competent and capable and increasing your motivation for the challenge. We start out in stage 2 with just the very basic elements of referencing. So we're only going to emphasize 2 pieces of referencing. One is referencing to make a decision. You reach a place of uncertainty. You reach a corner of a street. Should you go left or right? And you use your partners, your more experienced, trusted partners, reactions, changes in their emotional expressions to help you make that decision. And again, you're borrowing their point of view, their perception of that event. You're not imitating them, right? It's a cognitive thinking process. The second type of referencing, very related to the first, is referencing for meaning. So that, remember, when Alex, the 26-month-old, picked up the whoopee cushion and had no idea what this meant, and Anna responded just with a sound, yuck, yuck. That was enough. That was the reference point for Alex to understand that this is something that we usually think of as disgusting, something we don't want to have around. And remember, she reacted by saying, oh, get out of here, get away, and threw it away. Right? She had obtained the meaning from the more experienced adult. Now, how do we test referencing? Well, very simply. We make sure to create simple situations of mild uncertainty. And we want to see then, does the child recognize the uncertainty? And rather than trying to withdraw from it or control it, do they know that they can achieve competence through borrowing our perspective, through the window of our facial expressions? That's how we continually test this out. Referencing has to be practiced everywhere, continuously. It's not something you can develop in a certain context or a couple of hours a day. It's something you have to incorporate into your lifestyle.